Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time to look ahead to the props, and of course, who better to talk props with than the Undertaker himself, Andrew Erickson, and my boy, the Welsh. We're going to give you our favorite prop bets for Week 1 in the NFL and call some touchdowns. And of course, we want you to subscribe to the channel. We're brought to you by our new sponsor this year, Hard Rock Bets. So we're very happy to have them along for the ride, but it's more important you're here for the ride. So subscribe, ring the bell till it goes ding, drop your comments below, call your touchdowns. Let's have some fun. Got off to a good start Thursday night. Andrew Erickson, you got the under coming in, and I got the same game parlay from the Thursday night football show at Bogman. A pretty good start to the year, I would say. What do you say?
Yeah, all my under props all cashed. Devontae Smith, under. George Pickens, under. Yeah. I wasn't sharp enough to be on the A.J. Brown under, but we all know what happened there. That one definitely cashed. So, yeah, feeling good so far.
Welsh, we got another game in Brazil tonight. Are you looking forward to the game or the Karol G halftime show?
Ooh, not the halftime show. No, I don't think I've ever looked forward to a halftime show. So
well,
it'll definitely
I think
be
you should tune in. I'm just saying. I think you might want to tune in.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm familiar with the game that they're going to be bringing out there. But no, the game itself, my boy Ladd. See how it's going to play out. Obviously, playing out of the States, but it should be a pretty great game.
All right, so let's get after it. Let's get to those props here, and let's start with Andrew Erickson here. First prop out of the gate, Andrew. What do you have for the people Week 1?
I'm starting with an under. Very, very surprising, but I got to stay on brand here. DK Metcalf is going to finish under 4.5 receptions. He's playing in his first game with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, and a game that we talked about on the Best Bets show. Hate this game. This is where fantasy points go to die between the Steelers and the Jets, and this number makes no sense to me. Metcalf had over 4.5 receptions last year in one of the past happiest offenses with Seattle, 3 times in 14 games played. So why is his line at 4.5 receptions on an offense that's going to run the ball more than the Seahawks did last season? So I'm going to continue to fade Arthur Smith's wide receiver 1 into oblivion. And when you look up next week at DK Metcalf's reception prop, it's going to be nowhere near 4.5. And that's not even considering he's going up against Sauce Gardner, a very tough cornerback matchup. Metcalf played the Jets last year. He had 4 catches against Sauce. So I don't think that he's going to go to 4.5 or 5 receptions. So I'm taking the under.
I think that's a pretty good one there. I like that. I've never been so excited to hate watch a game than this game. I think it's going to be wretched, but I love all the storylines and the narratives and the fact it's in New York and Rodgers coming back and Fields against his old team. And I think it's going to be messy and gross and terrible. It's like all those adult women who are hate watching The Summer I Turned Pretty all summer and wondering what they're doing with their lives. That's going to be me. Sunday, 1 o'clock, watching Jets Steelers. And I can't wait for it.
Wait, but you're going to be watching the Pats, Joe.
Yeah, but I'm going to be going back. I'm going to be watching Red Zone most of the time anyway, but I will be going back and forth just to watch the crowd by the third quarter. Just the boos turn from the Aaron Rodgers to the Justin Field. Oh, it's going to be so good. All right, Welsh, what do you have? Week 1 coming out hot of the gate. What do you got?
I'm gonna stick in this game, and I'm gonna get ugly too. I'm gonna get with a player that everybody is down on. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, everybody hates Breece Hall. That'll be the new show. Remember the Everybody Hates Chris? Everybody hates Breece Hall now. I am gonna jump on the Breece Hall train, but I'm gonna take a low over on his receiving yards. It's 17.5 found over on Betting Pros. A very nice low number. And one of the big reasons behind it is that's where they're going to play him the most, especially if you're like a big fader of Breece Hall and Braylon Allen's going to take over. They've talked about that Breece Hall is going to be big in the pass game. Last year, 8 games, he caught 4 or more passes. When doing so, when he has caught 4 or more, he's destroyed this receiving yard prop. He has hit this. Also, interesting fact out there, Breece has been like a top 10 option as far as target rate versus blitzes. Pittsburgh blitzes a lot. They're also in the top 10. So that could lead to more opportunities because you've also got Justin Fields, who was one of the number 1 check down quarterbacks out there. So I think they're going to look for Breece Hall to get into open space. They're going to use short passes as like quote runs because Justin Fields' passing game is going to be difficult in general, and that's where Breece is going to get his damage done. So 17.5 over receiving yards. I really do love this total in a gross game with what has become a gross fantasy player for most.
Okay, all the grossness. Andrew Erickson, let's get back to you here with your second pick for Week 1. What do you have for the people?
I'm going over here with David Njoku over 45.5 receiving yards. Njoku went off last year against the Cincinnati Bengals in both matchups for the Browns tight end. He went over 60 receiving yards in both contests. And I think that with Joe Flacco under center, he is going to hone in, hyper-target his number one tight end in this offense. We've seen this before with Njoku and Joe Flacco. 5 games back in 2023, and boy, it was a fun time. 22% target share, 9 targets per game, nearly a 30% target rate per route run. So at 45.5 receiving yards for this uber explosive tight end who can make plays after the catch, the OC now, Tommy Reese, he was the tight ends coach for the Browns last season. So I'm pretty sure that the Browns are going to be using their tight ends a lot, especially in a really beatable matchup against the Bengals defense that we still think is very bad up and down the board. So give me the over on David Njoku.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. It's weird, too, because Njoku's had a strange career where you just look at him and go, he's such a spectacular specimen, right? He looks like an impact tight end, but from a fantasy perspective and from an even wagering perspective, it's always been underwhelming until Joe Flacco came to town. Joe Flacco was the guy to unlock David Njoku. It's just crazy.
We only get to be on the Joe Flacco ride for so many weeks, guys. Like, you got to take advantage while you can.
Week 9, right? Is it week 9 or 12? I forget where they are. I think they're week 9. So 8.5 for the over-under and Joe Flacco games under center this year. Welsh, let's stick in this game. Let's talk about the Cincinnati side because you got some love here for one of the guys on the Cincy side of the football.
I remember last year, early on, when we did this show, Erickson and I, we kind of came to an impasse where we were trying to get really cute, and it's like, sometimes you just got to back the best players in football, especially early on in the season. And that's kind of where this ended up going with Chase Brown. We're going to go with Chase Brown rushing yards, which is a really nice number. You can look around, 65.5 found on Betting Pros, and I'm going to take the over on that. They said that this offense is going to be built around featuring him more. 6 of 7 games last year, when rushing 15 times or more, this prop has been hit. The one he didn't was against the Browns, where he just had 15 carries. The second game he faced off against them, he put over 80. Browns last year gave up the 12th most rushing yards per game and 4.5 on the ground per average, which was around 20th in the league. And if you want to go look at Fantasy Pros projections, they've got him over 15 carries. They've got him 60 on the ground. A little bit of a cushion as far as the projection on the yards go. But I really love Chase Brown in this game. If the Bengals do start stacking on some points against the Browns and their defense holds even a tiny bit, that's going to be more for Chase Brown. This is a very obtainable number, so I like this. I'm not sure how many mid-60 rushing yard props we're going to see on Chase Brown if he really truly is the top featured guy this year. So I'm going to go with the over on his rushing yard prop.
I like what you said about investing early in the best players because sometimes these lines are a little shorter than they should be. That's why I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you're finding him at like 65, 66.5 for the receiving yards, and I just think they're going to be grossly overmatching those wide receivers to that cornerback room of the Green Bay Packers this weekend. So I think taking advantage of some of those early props and those big-time stars, Welsh is on with that one. Speaking of being on, we're all on board with our new sponsor, and that is Hard Rock Bet. So we're very excited to have them on this year, and everybody knows the brand, right? You know the hotels, you know the casinos. Some of us know them better than others, even the restaurants, too. Hard Rock, great brand across the board, and Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida and is also available in Arizona, where Welsh is, New Jersey, where I am, Ohio, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states launching all the time. And you can also play Hard Rock Bet online casino in New Jersey because that's how we roll in the Jers, baby. So from here on out, you're going to see us talk about Hard Rock Bet lines on all the shows. That's what we're talking about today when we're talking about all the games. And as we gear up for the NFL season, sign up today for Hard Rock Bet to place your bet of $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. That's only at Hard Rock Bet. So sign up today and make your first deposit. You're welcome, everyone. All right, let's get to more props here on the line for this week. Let's go to you, Welsh. We'll start with you here for pick number 3. I am very much in, and you'll see a little bit later on, spoiler alert, the Seattle Seahawks in this game. And I'm also on Ken Walker to score a tutty, plus 125. Ooh, I love that. Going to be talking about that later. So let's talk about the rush yards for him. 63.5 is the number. Are you going over or under?
I have been over on my first prop. I've been over on my second prop, and we are going down. We are going under on my first prop of the show here. And this line actually is over at Hard Rock. They had the best line available at 63.5, and I'm going to take the under rushing yard prop for that. 49ers made a commitment to stopping the run after finishing 18th in rushing yards allowed per game last year.
Bad last year.
They were. I mean, in the PFF grade, it was like 28th. It was pretty bad, and they were giving up a lot of touchdowns, which is going to be a favorable thing if you're looking at the Ken Walker stuff. But they brought in 3 rookies. All 3 rookies on the defensive line that they brought in had run grades from PFF that were over 82. So essentially it's like an 83 or higher, which very impressive. CJ West, one of them, had like an 88, and this is as far as run grade goes. The guys that they lost in Malik Collins, Hargrave, and Floyd all had 54 lower defensive grades according to PFF. So just throwing this out here that these low run stoppers on the defensive line are gone. They brought in high-end dudes to help stop that run. So now moving away from the 49ers, going over to Ken Walker. Ken Walker only hit this rushing yard prop 4 of 11 games played last year. We're talking about Charbonnet getting on the field even more. That's going to take opportunities away. And then this was probably my favorite, most fun fact. Ken Walker's never rushed for 60 yards against the 49ers, ever, in his career. PFF projections around 57, Fantasy Pros projections at 59. I'm taking under 63.5 rushing yards against the 49ers for Ken Walker.
Yeah, the Charbonnet talk kind of skewed me off his rushing total, just period. And you know me, I always bet the yards over the attempts anyway, because, you get that one big run, that's all you need sometimes. So interesting. The faith in the rookies. That's where Welsh is for week 1 in the 49ers. Let's go to Andrew Erickson for number 3 on his board this week.
Sticking to the theme of picking just good players to just smash in week 1, and that's why I'm going with Drake London. I think that he's going to be a frequent player to highlight in the Betting Pros Primer because I think I'm just going to bet his overs all season long, and I think it's going to be profitable. So Drake London over 6.5 receptions. You can get at plus money. You can also find his receptions at 5.5 with, the juice not as good. But look, the last 2 games that we saw him play with Michael Penix, he had 31 targets combined. This guy is going to see so many targets from Michael Penix against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're playing at home. We know that this defense is traditionally a pass funnel. So when you can't run against them, what do? You drop back and throw 40 times per game. And that's what Michael Penix is going to do. And Drake London, if you read any of the training camp or the reports from OTAs, it was, oh, wow, another 50% target share for Drake London this week. So I think he's going to get absolutely fed here. And at plus money, he had 7+ catches in both the last 2 starts that Michael Penix started with Drake London. So I think that he's just going to smash.
Okay, smashing all the way around for Drake London. Let's get to some more of these stats. And remember, if you need some more help picking your props, let us help you. Download the Betting Pros app. We always talk about the prop bet cheat sheet here. Use it. You could sort it by all the different props. You could sort it by different games if you just want to go heavy into a game. Whatever your journey is in this week or any week of fantasy football, or any game for that matter, use the prop bet cheat sheet. It's one of the many amazing tools over at Betting Pros. And again, you can go to bettingpros.com/props or just download the app. Who are you kidding? You're going to use the app anyway, and go check out the prop bet cheat sheet to get daily prop bet value based on our projections over at Fantasy Pros. And of course, you'll find the best lines to bet them. That's the whole point. So sync your sports books for free and get ready to get winning some cash with the prop bet cheat sheet. All right, let's get to number 4 on the list for the boys here. Welsh, kick us off here with a Patriot and an over. Let's go.
We are going to jump on the Patriot train here. We're going to be big Stefon Diggs fans this weekend, as Diggs has a receiving yard prop of 45.5, and we are going to take the over. The Raiders ranked 16th last year in receiving yards to opponents. The last 3 games, though, they fell to the 5th most receiving yards given up. We've got a pretty nice positive wide receiver cornerback rating according to PFF. You've got Stokes like around 60 of 112 at cornerback. So you really like the cornerback matchup. But Drake May on Wednesday said, quote, he is looking forward to getting the rock to Diggs and seeing what he does with it all season long. Diggs has looked good in camp. I know there's been some questions all week long, looks fast, hitting the cuts. Now they talk about kind of spreading the ball out and spreading that offense, but I think he is just a massive playmaker. You don't see a healthy, active Stefon Diggs with an under 50-yard receiving yard prop, so this is due to the injury questions, and this is due to, I think, just the Patriots offense in general. But I really, really like this number under 50. The Fantasy Pros projections had it over 50. I've seen some floating around. I mean, no matter where you look, if it's Betting Pros, Fantasy Pros, anywhere, the yard prop is over. I think everyone's being very cautious about it. Stefon Diggs is going to eat this weekend, and I'm going to take the over on his receiving yard prop.
We can only hope, right, Andrew? We can only hope we get off to a good start here with Stefon Diggs and this new regime here with the Patriots. Okay, not everything is going to be great necessarily. I've already talked about at length, even going back to our look-ahead show, that I just think Cam Ward's going to have a bad time, basically. He's going to try to pizza and French fry, and I don't think either are going to work in Denver. And this is going to be a bad time potentially for him. First start in Denver against that secondary, no bueno. And speaking of that secondary, you've got Calvin Ridley set up for an under. So how are you approaching this? From the receptions or from the receiving yards?
Just take the receptions under Calvin Ridley 4.5. I get the argument you can make for the yardage too, but there's always a chance that he just catches a deep one, a broken coverage or something like that. But for Cam Ward to consistently get Ridley the ball when the Broncos have that tight coverage unit in the back end defending against Ridley, I just don't see that happening. So against the number one pass defense in the NFL last season, Ridley hasn't necessarily been this volume hog either. You just look at, he's averaged just under 4 catches per game since his return to the NFL in 2023. He's at 3.8 last season. So again, I think this is just an aggressive number that even in a good matchup, like Ridley is probably more like 50-50 to necessarily hit. And in a brutal matchup on the road, just take the under and move on.
Okay, taking the under and moving on. There you have it, everybody. All right, we got some Texans receivers to talk about. Erickson, let's start with you on this one here. Nico Collins is the one you want to talk about. We'll get to him. I'm sorry, Welsh wants to talk about Nico Collins, but you want to talk about somebody who might be playing because Christian Kirk might be out. So let's talk about that scenario here with the Houston Texans and what it might mean for Jaylin Noel.
Yeah, I'm expecting big things from Jaylin Noel because I think that he's going to take over that full-time starting role in the slot. That's why the Texans drafted Jaylin Noel, because they looked at him as the future of that slot receiver, with Christian Kirk playing the veteran for this 1 year. But Christian Kirk's dealt with injuries, and now he's already hurt, and it's a hamstring injury. So this is something that could linger throughout the regular season. Kirk may never be right, and I want to take advantage of this with Noel because right now his number is at 20.5 receiving yards. I don't see why his number wouldn't be any different from Christian Kirk. Yes, Kirk is a veteran, but Noel's a super talented player out of Iowa State. I can't believe he fell to the third round, and the Texans were supremely lucky to get him and Jaden Higgins into their lineup. And honestly, I would expect bigger things in week 1 from Noel than Higgins, just because Higgins, I think, is going to be sharing time with Xavier Hutchinson as that other outside wide receiver, where Noel is teed up to be that number 1 slot vertical player. So I think that you can alt this up to over 40 receiving yards, because that's what Kirk's prop was. I looked, it was 42.5 opening with Christian Kirk. Noel can get that easily if he's in that exact same role. So just take the over at the 20.5 and alt it up over 30, over 40 for a little bit of a fatter payout.
Yeah, I liked him during the draft process coming out of Iowa State, too, so I'm a fan of Jaylin Noel. I just didn't think we'd get here this quickly, and who knows, if he has a good game, maybe you're right, maybe he holds on to it. All right, as I accidentally blew out the lead there, Nico Collins is the guy that Welsh wants to talk about, so let's talk about Nico and what he might do in this game against the Rams, which, some people, Andrew Erickson, are looking at an under for this game.
I could see that, but we're going to go with an over for Nico Collins. We said we are going to try as best we can to target the best players out there for those props, especially when the markets don't quite know what to do with some of these guys. Where Nico's going to start flying into the high 80s and 90s every single week. This is a great spot, but I will warn that this number is starting to move because the number I've got is lower than what is currently on the market. The good thing is our friends over at Hard Rock have the best line that is out there for him currently. I have it at 75.5. It's at 78.5. It's moving because Kirk is out, and we are going with the Nico Collins receiving yards over. He started last year off by hitting this in 5 straight games before getting hurt. We don't have any other big target monsters. We can like Noel. We can like Higgins. This is all Nico moving him around the line. Kirk is obviously hurt, as you guys mentioned. You got a questionable running game, and they're likely to be playing from behind. The better thing, this is the number 1 PFF wide receiver cornerback matchup rating of the week. You've got both Williams and Witherspoon on that secondary ranked in the 70s and the 50s as far as cornerbacks overall. So that also is just another little marker for Noel if you really like him. But Nico Collins is going to get fed, and he's going to get fed a lot. This is like in the Drake, if you're talking the Drake London thing, like he's going to get 10 catches. This is Nico Collins this week, and it's under 80. Projections, wherever you go, we're looking at over 80. This number is moving, so make sure you get in on it. And our friends at Hard Rock have got that best line, 78.5. I'm locking in. I already locked in. You can see it on our Betting Pros app at 75.5. But that is my final of my prop bets for the week over Nico Collins receiving yards.
Gentlemen, very good. Strong out of the gate. Next week, of course, Accountability Buddies will be back. So we'll be letting everybody know how we did on some of these picks here. And, of course, it's time to call some touchdowns. And if you need some help calling touchdowns or making your own touchdown looks, bettingpros.com/touchdown. That's how you get the edge. The Touchdown Score Report compares anytime touchdown stats to prop bet odds and projections to help identify the very best in anytime touchdown bets. And I've got 2 touchdown bets for you, and I'm going to get real specific with one. Because just like I did on Thursday night where I said, well, I don't like that minus 160 on Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. That's no fun. If I chop off half the game, I get that first half anytime touchdown for Jalen Hurts. It goes plus money. Guess what? You had two touchdowns. So I'm going to take that same logic and do it with Derrick Henry on Sunday Night Football. Turn that minus into a plus and turn that plus into money with Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry plus 165, anytime touchdown score for the first half of the game. And then give me Ken Walker. I know Welsh feels good about the rookies, but I want to see it first. So give me Ken Walker the third at plus 125 there to find the end zone in that San Francisco game against Seattle. Everybody knows that's the upset special of the week. We'll see if I'm right or wrong, but we come back next week. All right, let's go to you, Andrew Erickson, for your favorite touchdown calls of the week.
I'm going to go with Hunter Henry at plus 250. I think that the chemistry with playing with Drake May in real live action last year is going to carry over to the regular season. And Hunter Henry, he had a ton of red zone targets last year, but he just did not score. He was like allergic to the end zone. In fact, Austin Hooper was the one that caught more touchdowns than Hunter Henry did, and it was comical. It would bounce out of Hunter Henry's hand into Austin Hooper in the end zone. So I think he's
Let's not bring up last year Patriots anymore.
He's a candidate for positive touchdown regression just based on his red zone role last year. He's averaged nearly 5 touchdowns per year since joining the Patriots, and when Josh McDaniels was calling the shots back in 2021, Henry was top 3 in the NFL in red zone targets among tight ends. So against a very beatable Raiders defense, I think that Hunter Henry is going to find the end zone from Drake May. And then sticking with the Drake theme here, Drake London, again, he's going to have a monster game. And this is just the start of all the touchdowns Drake London is going to catch this year. So Drake London plus 130 to catch a touchdown at home against the Bucs.
All right, Welsh, who's finding the end zone in week 1?
My lower odds, plus 125, I've looked at for Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas to score a touchdown. Panthers averaged most receiving touchdowns given up per game last year. Brian Thomas is going to get right back at it. If anything, whatever you feel about Travis Hunter, that's going to get some type of a focal point on the defensive side, that it's not just staring at Brian Thomas. He is the target. He's the big guy. Also, if you look in the fantasy side, Trevor Lawrence, like top 12 quarterback rated out for fantasy. So if he is going to get to that marker, it's going to be because of Brian Thomas, and Brian Thomas is going to score a touchdown. And you want to talk about allergic to the end zone. No one was more allergic to the end zone last year than Trey McBride. We are going positive touchdown regression. We are getting 2-1 Trey McBride versus the Saints. Kyler Murray, I think it's the first touchdown that he throws this year. He's going to get it done right out the gates. Whatever you want to talk about, the stuff with Marvin Harrison and him, this is Trey McBride's year. He's going to score big touchdowns. Erickson's going to get in on the McBride touchdowns the rest of the season. 2-1 McBride. That's my second touchdown call.
There you have it, everybody. All right, what are your touchdown calls? I want to hear from you. Drop your touchdown predictions in the chat right here on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 this year. We can do it with your help. And, of course, ring the bell till it goes ding to you never miss a piece of content here on our Betting Pros channel. And, of course, download the Betting Pros app. Bet smarter, not harder. Don't be a tool. Use the tools. And special shout out to our sponsor of our shows, Hard Rock Bets. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For The Undertaker, Andrew Erickson, and the Welsh, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy prop betting.